In just 55 seconds, a mere moment for many, Niki Lauda faced an eternity. During that fleeting interval at the 1976 German Grand Prix, the Formula One world champion confronted death itself. But instead of succumbing, he defiantly rejected death, reclaimed his helmet, and stepped back into life. This event is as synonymous with Lauda as his trio of world championship titles. Niki Lauda, a man devoid of illusions, approached life and racing with a calculated and sometimes ruthless demeanor, casting a substantial shadow both on and off the track. This is a natural expectation for someone of his stature, especially as he entered the 1976 season, flaunting his status as a reigning champion. However, Lauda's influence on Formula One transcends mere titles. Spanning a decade between his first and third championships, he witnessed the sport's evolution, competing against legends like Graham Hill and Jackie Stewart, and newer talents like Nelson Piquet and Alain Prost. Lauda's legacy is not just that of a champion, it is also defined by his advocacy for driver safety, which continues to protect racers today. Yet, the path to these achievements was marred by horrific events, dominating the 1976 seasons until the Nürburgring, where he had amassed a significant lead in points over his rival James Hunt. Lauda's narrative took a drastic turn. Hunt, the media darling, was everything Lauda was not: charismatic, handsome, and daringly audacious, willing to risk everything for glory. In contrast, Lauda's approach was marked by meticulousness, discipline, and precision. While James Hunt was known for his charm and good looks, Niki Lauda was less favored in the aesthetics department, earning the unflattering nickname The Rat due to his thin face and prominent teeth. Despite this, his unrivaled speed on the track was a testament to his rigorous preparation, courage, and quick reflexes. By the 1976 season, Lauda had solidified his status as the fastest driver, a reputation fortified during his tenure with Ferrari. His bluntness was legendary, and it was perhaps fortunate that he and Enzo Ferrari did not speak the same language. Lauda was a formidable figure, unafraid to assert himself and confident in his abilities to endure, achieve, and conquer. As the cars lined up at the Nürburgring in 1976, another championship victory for Ferrari and Lauda seemed almost guaranteed. The Nürburgring, notorious for its challenges and past tragedies, was a circuit that had already claimed 5 lives. Lauda had expressed his concerns about the circuit's safety standards at the Grand Prix Drivers Association meeting, advocating for a boycott due to inadequate fire engines and safety crews. Despite his protests, he was outvoted and the race proceeded. On race day, a light shower convinced Lauda to start on rain tires, but he quickly realized his error and switched to slicks after the first lap to regain lost ground. However, his new tires struggled to warm up, and on the second lap at Bergwerk, disaster struck. Lauda lost control and the impact sheared off much of one side of his car, transforming it into a fireball. The car, carefully fueled for the race, spun across the track engulfed in flames. As Brett Langer approached the bend, he tried to brake but collided head-on with Lauda's burning Ferrari, pushing it towards the track's edge. Every second was crucial. The chaotic scene was compounded by the lack of adequate marshalling. Only one marshal, ill-equipped and improperly dressed, was present. Knowing the direness of the situation, driver Harald Ertl located a fire extinguisher and managed to douse the flames in the cockpit. Brett Langer, a Vietnam War veteran, took a pivotal position in the rescue efforts. The struggle to save Lauda was intense. Arturo Merzario, a former Ferrari driver, bravely entered the blazing heat and, familiar with the seatbelt mechanisms, managed to release Lauda's 6-point harness. Merzario later recalled the difficulty of the rescue, noting Lauda's agony and his struggle against the restraints until, mercifully, he lost consciousness. Only when Lauda relaxed was Merzario able to free the buckle. The sudden release caused Langer to topple, pulling Lauda with him. Reflecting on the incident years later, Merzario's brave action were credited with saving Lauda's life, a gesture forever appreciated by the Austrian racer. Lauda himself recognized Merzaro's courage, saying, "There was a guy called Arturo Merzario who jumped into the flame alone and pulled me out of the wreckage. So I survived because of him. A couple of seconds more and I wouldn't have made it." Lauda's injuries were extensive and life-threatening, especially to his head and hands, along with a broken collarbone. He was quickly airlifted to the hospital, where his condition worsened to the point where a priest was called to administer the last rites. Despite the grim prognosis, Lauda survived, famously quipping to the priest once he regained consciousness, "Tell the priest I'm still alive." He endured 55 agonizing seconds in the inferno, resulting in the loss of his eyelids, much of his right ear, and significant scalp burns, which led him to always wear a cap in public afterward. In spite of the severe injuries, Lauda was determined not only to return to racing but to defend his world title. Remarkably, less than a month after the crash, he was at the Fiorano test track, demonstrating his readiness to Ferrari's management, including Enzo Ferrari. His return was a profound statement, especially since Ferrari had swiftly sought a replacement driver, a decision that had deeply hurt Lauda. Daniele Audetto, the Ferrari team manager, vividly remembered Lauda's return. "He was a vision that I can never forget." Niki arrived in a Fiorano in his plane, which he apparently flew himself to Bologna. He was so pale, his scars, his lost hair, his inability to close his eyes, it was like seeing a ghost. Just 33 days after his brush with death, Lauda competed at Monza, finishing 4th, his injuries still raw and bandaged. As the season neared its end in Tokyo, Lauda led Hunt by 3 points. However, relentless pain and impaired vision from his injuries forced him into a heartbreaking decision: retirement from the race, paving the way for Hunt to clinch the title. Despite stepping back, Lauda's heroic comeback dominated the narrative. He not only survived an almost fatal crash, but also remained competitive to the end. In 1985, Niki Lauda once again reached the pinnacle of Formula One, clinching his 3rd World Championship by a slim margin over his McLaren teammate, Alain Prost. This victory was particularly sweet as it marked his triumphant return to the top after the near-fatal crash that had almost ended his career just 9 years earlier. The season was a testament to his unwavering determination and his tactical brilliance on the track. After achieving this remarkable feat, Lauda decided it was time to retire from racing. His departure from the sport was dignified as his tenure had been impactful, leaving behind a legacy of resilience, skill, and strategic acumen. Those critical 55 seconds at the Nürburgring in 1976, where Lauda faced death and emerged profoundly changed, continued to resonate throughout his life, shaping his actions and philosophy. The experience instilled in him a deep appreciation for life and a relentless drive to continue improving safety standards in racing, protecting future generations of drivers. Lauda passed away on May 20th, 2019 following complications from a lung transplant, an operation necessitated by the long-term effects of inhaling toxic fumes during that horrific crash. His story remains a powerful narrative of courage, recovery, and redemption. For those fascinated by the titans of Formula One, Lauda's story is a compelling chapter in the sport's rich history, filled with triumph and tragedy.